it's tomorrow. Hey, welcome back. Today we're jumping into a topic that is, no joke, the financial lifeblood of every single company. Receivables management. Basically, it's all about making sure you get paid for what you sell. Sounds simple, right? Well, as we're about to find out, it gets complicated, fast. I mean, just think about that for a second. If you're a big company, maybe selling thousands of products a day all over the world, how do you possibly manage every single invoice, track every payment, and follow up with every customer? That's the huge challenge that receivables management is designed to solve. So, to really wrap our heads around this, we're going to follow a story. Let's meet Linda. She's a new accountant, and we're going to see this pretty complex world through her eyes. All right, let's set the scene. Linda just started her new job at the bike company. They're a really cool modern business selling sustainable bikes and e-scooters. And her whole job, really, is to make sure that when the company sells a bike, the money actually finds its way into the bank. So, what's her day-to-day actually look like? Well, believe me, her plate is full. She's keeping an eye on payments, fixing any errors, running reports to see who still owes money, and sending out those little payment reminders, which in the biz is a process called dunning. She's even helping out with the super important end-of-the-month financial closing. It's a critical role, for sure. So, where does this all begin? I mean, before Linda can collect a single dollar, that customer has to exist in the company's system. And that brings us to her very first task, and a really foundational concept in the world of business software like SAP. It's day one, and a new customer wants to do business, a bike-sharing company called Velotix. They're a perfect match for the bike company's products, but before they can place their first big order, Linda has to create a master record for them in the system. And right here, this is where things start to get really interesting. You see, in a system like SAP, you don't just create a customer record. You create something called a business partner. Now, here's the really cool part about this idea. A business partner is one central, flexible record. It can be a customer you sell to, a supplier you buy parts from, or it could even be both at the exact same time. So to create this business partner, Linda has to go through 3 mandatory steps. They're pretty simple, but they are absolutely essential to get the data right from the very beginning. She has to choose a category, assign a role, and then select a grouping. Okay, first up, the category. Is this a single person, like your landlord? Is it a group of people? Or, in our case with Velotix, is it an organization, a proper legal company? For Linda, this one's a no-brainer. Next up is the role, and this is all about defining the relationship. Is Velotix a customer? Absolutely. But what if, down the road, the bike company decided to buy some services from Velotix? No problem. Linda could just add a supplier role to that very same business partner record. It keeps everything neat, tidy, and all in one place. And last but not least, we have grouping. And really, this is all about giving that new business partner a unique ID number. The company gets to decide, should the system just assign a number automatically? That's called internal assignment. Or should Linda type one in manually? That's external assignment. It's all about how the company wants to organize its data. So, here's how all that info gets organized. Think of it in layers. You've got your general data, name, address, stuff that's true no matter what. Then, because Velotix is a customer, Linda adds role-specific data, like crucial financial details for accounting and sales info that tells the system which team is handling their account. All right, so Velotix is in the system. The business relationship is set up. Now what? Well, now we follow the money. Let's see what happens when they actually buy a fleet of bikes. This is what we call the invoice-to-cash journey. An invoice-to-cash is, you guessed it, exactly what it sounds like. It's that critical slice of the sales process that kicks off the second an invoice is created and doesn't end until the cash is in the bank and the books are all balanced. This is Linda's world, right here. So let's trace the life of just one invoice for Velotix, from start to finish. First, it gets posted in the system. It's official. Then, hopefully, the payment is collected on time. Now, if they happen to pay a little less or a little more, that difference has to be recorded too. Once everything lines up, the invoice gets cleared, which is just a fancy way of saying it's paid and closed out. And finally, you can send out a nice confirmation. And when that invoice gets posted, it becomes an official financial document. It really has 3 main parts. The header's got the basics, date, currency, The line items, that's the nitty-gritty, the classic debits and credits that show exactly where the money is moving between accounts. And, of course, the tax area handles all the important tax calculations. Every single detail matters. Now, you can imagine, for a long, long time, a ton of Linda's job would have been super manual, pretty repetitive. But today, technology, especially AI, is changing the entire game. I mean, just picture the old way for a sec. Linda would be hunched over spreadsheets, trying to figure out who's late on their payments, then manually typing up emails to chase them down, and getting tangled in endless email chains just to solve one little dispute. It's slow, it's tedious, and it's just not efficient. And this is where something like SAP Business AI comes in. This isn't just one thing, it's a whole collection of smart tools designed to take all that repetitive work off her plate. It can help predict which customers might pay late and guide accountants like Linda to put their energy where it will make the biggest impact. So what does that actually mean for Linda's day? Well, it's kind of like giving her accounting superpowers. The AI can sift through payment histories and suggest which customers to call first. It can automatically send a dispute to the right department so it gets solved faster. And, this is a huge one, it can take thousands of incoming bank payments and automatically match them to the right open invoices. That's a massive time saver. And the impact of this? It's huge. I mean, the whole point of all this tech is simple. Slash the amount of time people spend on manual tasks. That frees up talented people like Linda to do the important stuff, like analyzing data, thinking strategically, and actually talking to customers. Okay, so we've walked with Linda through her first tasks, we've seen the tech. Now let's pull back and look at the big picture. Why does any of this really, truly matter? This is the bottom line, right here. Getting paid faster and more efficiently isn't just about making the accounting department happy. It directly pumps up a company's cash flow. And more cash on hand means more stability. It means more money to invest in new research, build new factories, and drive future growth. So in a very, very real way, the work Linda does at her desk every day is literally fueling the future of the entire company. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Think about your favorite brand, a car company, a tech giant, whoever. What if they could get their next amazing product into your hands 6 months sooner, just because their financial house was in order? That's the real-world power of doing this stuff right. It's not just numbers on a page, it's the engine of innovation.